Donald Trump's personal animus towards former FBI Director James Comey is on full display in a new motion to dismiss with prejudice, meaning forever, the indictment against James Comey because of prosecutorial misconduct in the form of vindictive prosecution and selective prosecution. So says a new motion that was filed late yesterday, along with another motion to dismiss the indictment with prejudice because Lindsey Halligan was illegally appointed. Let me cover now the new motion, the 1-2 punch, the second punch against Lindsey Halligan and Donald Trump, filed by James Comey and his lawyer, Pat Fitzgerald, just yesterday in the Eastern District of Virginia. Its foundation, the foundation of the motion, is that in retaliation for the expression of James Comey's First Amendment speech, his criticism since at least 2017, all the way through now, of Donald Trump's return to power, top of his list was to go after his enemies, one of which is James Comey, which he has said, Trump has said out loud in social media posts and in interviews, which demonstrates the personal animus. And what they say in their motion, which I'm going to read to you from now, and I'm going to post on Legal AF Substack for you to read, is that you don't look at the animus of Lindsey Halligan. It doesn't matter if Lindsey, I can't believe I'm a federal prosecutor, Halligan, has animus, has hostility towards James Comey. It only matters whether the person who's in a position to start, commence, and force the prosecution does. And she's instead seen, as the case law says, as just a stalking horse for somebody like Donald Trump, her client. And there is legion of evidence that is cited in the motion that demonstrates the personal animus. Just clips, and I'll show you a few of them, some clips and videos of Donald Trump and postings. And now the infamous posting just a month or so ago, where Donald Trump demands out loud in something he now claims was supposed to be a secret message to his Department of Justice head, Pam Bondi. Pam, hurry up. Prosecute my enemies, including James Comey. Use Lindsey Halligan to do it. It's all right there in that social media post. I'm Michael Popok. You're here on the Legal AF YouTube channel. Take a minute. Now we need defense here. we need to get our audience protecting what we do here. Hit the subscribe button. We've got no outside investors. This is it. And then we'll talk more about that at the end of the episode. Here we go. I'm going to read to you. This is based on First Amendment, what we call Fifth Amendment due process rights, which have all been violated, and what the remedy that Comey's lawyers are telling the Judge Nachmanoff, is that you need to dismiss this indictment with prejudice, because that's the only way you're going to sufficiently punish the government for their bad behavior and make sure it never happens again. Now, this is the third motion for vindictive prosecution that has been filed by one of the targets, the political critics of Donald Trump. We've got one that's still pending with Judge Crenshaw in the Middle District of Tennessee, brought by Abrego Garcia's lawyers, about how he was treated by being sent illegally to an El Salvadoran jail. That's one. We've got the one filed by Representative LaMonica McIver of New Jersey for how she was prosecuted for merely providing oversight and observing an ICE detention center, Delaney Hall in New Jersey. And now we've got the third. This one, all eyes are on, because this one looks like it's going to get decided first. How do we know that? There's no real trial setting with Abrego Garcia, nor for McIver. But here, we're going to trial first week in January, this January. So this has to be decided well in advance, along with the companion motion that was filed also yesterday, which I covered separately with a video here up on Legal AF, about the motion to dismiss the indictment because of Lindsey Halligan's improper appointment. All right, let's stay right here. Let me read to you from page 1 first of the 51-page motion. The indictment in this case arises from multiple glaring constitutional violations and an egregious abuse of power by the federal government. The United States Constitution entitles individuals to speak out against the government and in turn forbids the government from retaliating against individuals for their protected speech. And a bedrock principle of due process and equal protection have long ensured that government officials may not use courts to punish and imprison their perceived personal and political enemies. But that's exactly what happened here. President Trump the motion continues, ordered the Department of Justice to prosecute Mr. Comey because of personal spite and because Mr. Comey has frequently criticized the president for his conduct in office. When no career prosecutor would carry out those orders, the president publicly forced the interim U.S. attorney, that's Eric Siebert, to resign and directed the attorney general, Bondi, to effectuate justice, quote unquote, against Mr. Comey. That's the social media post. He then installed a White House aide with no prosecutorial experience as interim U.S. attorney. See Lindsey Halligan. The president's new hand-picked interim U.S. attorney indicted Mr. Comey just days later, and days before the relevant statute of limitations was set to expire. Now, we continue. On page 5, he lists all the ways in demonstrating animus, all the ways that Donald Trump has attacked Comey starting in April of 2018. Trump posted numerous tweets displaying his personal animus towards Mr. Comey. Here, you don't have to guess. To prove vindictive prosecution, you usually have to show either actual vindictiveness or animus, which is very difficult because you don't normally have an email where somebody says, I hate that guy, let's prosecute him. But with Donald Trump, you do. You also have something that's called presumption of vindictiveness, in which shifts the burden back to the government. And then they've got to prove that they weren't vindictive. And I think under either scenario here, Comey's got a strong and winning motion. Back in 2018, Trump wrote about Comey, he's a proven leaker and a liar, a weak and untruthful slimeball. He should be prosecuted. In an interview on ABC, again in April of 2018, he said, shady James Comey can leak and lie and make lots of money from a third-rate book that should never have been written. That's a book that he wrote called A Higher Calling. A week later, Trump accused Mr. Comey of illegally leaking classified information and stated that Mr. Comey was either sick or very dumb. Later, when Comey spoke out against Trump in connection with his actions in office, Trump also criticized him. After Trump gave remarks crediting Putin and his denials of Russian election interference, Comey tweeted, "This was the day an American president stood on foreign soil in Russia next to a murderous, lying thug, Putin, and refused to back his own country." And shortly after the 2018 election, Comey posted a tweet maintaining that the United States should be a shining light for the world, modeling a democracy that values truth, and Trump is dimming that light. You see how he got on the wrong side of Donald Trump? Now, here's what, after all of these back and forth and tweetings, you then have the posting that they cite to on October 8th of September 20th of 2025. Pam, this is on page 11. I reviewed over 30 statements and posts saying that essentially same old story as last time. No talk, all talk, no action. What about Comey, Adam Shifty Shift, Letitia? They're all guilty, but nothing is being done. We almost put in a Democrat in the U.S. attorney in Virginia. That's untrue. Eric Seibert is a Republican, with a really bad Republican past, a woke rhino. That's why 2 of the worst Dem senators pushed him. He even lied to the media. No, I fired him. And there is a great case, and many lawyers and legal pundits say so. Lindsey Halligan's a really good lawyer, likes you a lot. Now we're back in middle school. We can't delay any longer. It's killing our reputation. They impeached me twice and indicted me 5 times over nothing. Justice must be served now. There's the stalking horse. We don't care whether Lindsey Halligan has we don't care whether Lindsey Halligan knows who James Comey is. She's taking her orders from her boss named Donald Trump. They also go and critique, I find this interesting. On page 15, they go and critique the indictment itself, which they should. The indictment gets the exchange wrong. That is allegedly the grounds for the perjury. It was an exchange on September 5th of 2020 between Cruz in Washington and Comey sitting in his home in Virginia about testimony that Comey gave back in 2017, in which Senator Grassley asked him about the investigation. Cruz asked Comey to affirm or deny testimony that he authorized someone else at the FBI to be an anonymous source in news reports about the Clinton administration. But Hillary Clinton was not elected. They had to remind the government. And Senator Grassley's original questioning related to the Clinton investigation, not administration. The indictment nonetheless mischaracterizes Mr. Comey as stating that he had not authorized someone else at the FBI to be an anonymous source in news reports regarding an FBI investigation concerning person one. Thus, the indictment replaces Senator Cruz's reference to the Clinton administration with a reference to Hillary Clinton and then misleadingly attributes the statements to Comey. This is not what a good perjury indictment is supposed to do. Then they go over on page 18 and 19 about the burden they have about vindictive prosecution. In the ordinary case, a prosecutor, this on page 18, in the ordinary case, a prosecutor's charging decision is presumptively lawful and rests within her broad discretion. This is no ordinary case. Here, direct evidence establishes that the president harbors genuine animus towards Mr. Comey, including because of Mr. Comey's protected speech, that he installed his personal attorney as a stalking horse to carry out his bidding. And then she prosecuted Mr. Comey days before the statute of limitations expired with a faulty indictment to effectuate the president's wishes. On this record alone, the motion says, Comey has established actual prosecutorial vindictiveness, to which the First Amendment protects them. Let me show you a couple clips here to end. Here's Donald Trump attacking Comey.
Not a list, but I think there'll be others. I mean, they're corrupt. These were corrupt, radical left Democrats, because Comey essentially was he was worse than a Democrat. I would say the Democrats are better than Comey. But no, there'll be others. Look, that's my opinion. They weaponized the Justice Department like nobody in history. What they've done is terrible. And so I hope there are others, because you can't let this happen to a country.
Will you appoint a permanent U.S. attorney to try this case? Lindsey Halligan has never tried a case.
Well, we'll see, but it's a pretty easy case because, look, he lied. You saw my truth today. He lied. It was yes, no. He didn't say, well, in my opinion, he didn't do a lot of things that maybe he should have, but I don't think he could because he lied. That was a very important question that he was asked, and he wanted to be specific, but he didn't. The only thing that happened to him, he didn't think he'd get caught.
And here's Comey attacking Donald Trump.
The reservoir is in grave danger right now. Trump and the hacks who lead the Department of Justice are hammering at the dam. Our best hope is that good people will stay and do what Maureen asked. Have the courage to do the right thing always. You may get fired for acting that way, but there's honor in that. I came up with that reservoir metaphor years ago when I was the United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York. And Patrice and I and our kids lived far north of the city, still in my jurisdiction, but more affordable for a family of 5 kids. And one of those kids grew up to be a federal prosecutor in that same Southern District of New York. And she became a star there, holding the powerful accountable. Last week, she wrote a letter that I want to read. Yesterday was unexpectedly my last day in the office. I was summarily fired via memo from Maine Justice that did not give a reason for my termination. But we have entered a new phase where without fear may be the challenge. If a career prosecutor can be fired without reason, fear may seep into the decisions of those who remain. Do not let that happen. Our best hope is that good people will stay and do what Maureen asked. Have the courage to do the right thing always. You may get fired for acting that way, but there's honor in that, and nothing but disgrace for those who don't stand up. There are going to be hard weeks in the Trump era, and this was one for my family. But there are plenty of good people still in the department committed to doing things the right way, committed to the rule of law. For them, because of them, keep the faith.
Is there any doubt in anybody's mind? I'll let you be the judge. You can put it in comments. That Donald Trump has vindictively prosecuted James Comey. And if that's the case and the judge finds it, and he's going to find this fast over the next 30 days, that indictment is toast. There's a backup argument that it's selective prosecution, which means that nobody in the history of the Eastern District of Virginia has ever been indicted for this type of perjury, where there's a mismatch between the question and the answer that deals with testimony from 3 years earlier. So now we're talking about 8 years ago, in which the question is not clear. And so the answer can't be perjurious, can't be perjury. It has to be a perfect match, a clean question, a clean answer. Having Cruz mangle his question about Senator Grassley from 3 years earlier and then have Comey say he stands by his testimony can never be perjury. That's why career prosecutors wouldn't touch this case with a 100-foot pole. I'll continue to follow it right here. You're here on Tuesday on Legal AF. I got some great news. We got Anna Bauer, the great reporter, intrepid reporter, who just disclosed yesterday that she was in a text exchange with Lindsey Halligan, not of her own making. Lindsey Halligan reached out to her with a series of text messages about the Letitia James prosecution because she was obviously triggered by something that Anna Bauer had written and something she had posted. I've got Anna Bauer for an exclusive interview. It's going up today on the Midas Touch Network and back here on Legal AF. So until my next report, I'm Michael Popok. I'm Michael Popok, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of Midas Touch's Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popok Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popok Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my Legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popok Firm today at 1-877-POPOK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopokfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popok Firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way.